In John 10:10, Jesus says, "I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly." The question to ponder is, what does abundant life look like today? The dominant narrative in our culture is that abundance is all about what we own and how much stuff we can accumulate. But for Jesus, abundance is not about stuff, but about loving relationships with God and one another. Whether it's feeding a crowd of 5,000, or healing, touching, and blessing those he encountered every day on his journey, Jesus was all about sharing God's abundant life and love that changed people from the inside out. In this DVD, we'll look at ways God's abundant life is still touching and changing lives today. Our first story is about God's abundance being shared through the lives of young adults in campus ministry and through the preparation and training of pastors and deacons for ministry.
The South Carolina Synod is celebrating 100 years of supporting the Lutheran campus ministry. We're eager to share with you 2 stories of the way your support of our shared mission in Lutheran campus ministry helps our young adults attending colleges and universities find communities that help them to develop a deepening faith that's robust enough to carry them through into their adult lives.
I've been an Episcopalian for nigh on 20 years. So this is my first connection with Lutherans. The worship and the teachings are so harmonious that I find it really a beautiful, easy fit.
Our board makeup is Episcopal and Lutheran, and I think it's really nice to see how well they work together. Our being here, the campus ministry being here, has also created more of a community between both of our sponsoring congregations as well.
We're the only campus ministry denominationally sponsored on campus that is fully inclusive, and I think that's really beautiful.
In Charleston, we've been working on reimagining what Lutheran campus ministry in the Low Country can look like.
The way that the Campus Ministry Task Force in the Low Country is trying to reshape campus ministry or do a new model is by taking, specifically right now, the Citadel and College of Charleston and trying to involve the churches in the area. It's the community of the church going into those schools and then having that person as a contact with the young adults is a very exciting thing.
Ministry at the Citadel is vitally important to each one of the cadets. They are encouraged to grow in every facet of life, not only physically, academically, emotionally, but spiritually.
When I came freshman year about 3 years ago, I was coming from a Lutheran church back home where I participated in youth group and Young Life too, to really grow my own personal faith. And by the end of freshman year of college, I was kind of at a stopping point. I didn't know how much more to grow myself. So coming to the Lutheran ministry, I learned I had the opportunity to help grow others.
There's a lot of things when you're first year at the Citadel where you don't have any control over anything at all. So going to Lutheran campus ministry made me realize that I'm just going to have to let God take control, and I'm just going to have to trust in what He's doing, and I know that what He's doing is right.
Me being a part of campus ministry, it allows me to give back to the community and allows me to grow with a group of individuals who we all believe in the same thing and be able to grow in Christ along with develop better community.
We are extremely grateful for the support and the partnership that we have with the South Carolina Synod. If not for their support, we would not be able to be there on the campus with a visible presence for our cadets.
Candidacy is one place in the ELCA where partners come together. We are all working together to help form candidates for rostered ministry.
South Carolina Candidacy Committee is made up of members from all across the South Carolina Synod. Our time together is also very thoughtful, very prayerful. We take great pride in walking with the candidates who come before us.
The candidacy process has been very helpful to me because I know that I have a group of people that is supporting me in my discernment.
During the candidacy process, I have had the chance several times to slow down and ask myself questions like, what is my motivation for wanting to be a pastor? It's been wonderful just knowing that I have a team of people who are in my corner.
Two more stories of God's abundant life that we share together can be seen through our relationships with our Latino brothers and sisters here in South Carolina and with our brothers and sisters in the Japan Evangelical Lutheran Church.
During the next year, the Synod will be moving forward with the construction of Cristo Rey's first unit. And one of the primary contributors to this is going to be the Mission Builders. Mission Builders are an arm of the ELCA, and they are a group of essentially retired contractors that get together across the country. They assemble on site and help with the framing and basic construction of the project.
Cristo Rey will have the opportunity now to have their own building. That is a dream that the community of faith of Cristo Rey had during many years. Having your building, you begin to develop the sense of ownership and belonging. And you begin to have the sense of responsibilities because you have to pay the bills and you have to raise the money and you have to begin to work more deeper in stewardship.
The Lutheran Church in Japan began when St. John's Lutheran Church in Charleston commissioned James Shira to go to Japan and start a mission church.
Your synod sent 2 missionaries to Japan in 1892. And from 1893, the Lutheran worship started in Saga, Kyushu Island. Since then, we have the mutual partnership with you and our church.
Japan Evangelical Lutheran Church has been receiving a lot of gifts, a lot of love from the Lutheran churches in other countries, and one of which is the ELCA. We needed to give it back, so we decided to come to this 2019 assembly to give our appreciation to the South Carolina Synod.
We need each other because Christ in my mind is weaker than Christ in others' voices. So we need to tell the good news to each other.
In the following stories, you will hear about 2 paths of greater congregational vitality and abundance.
Forming church process came about. Originally, we were invited to a meeting from the bishop that we hosted at our church with other congregations. It was great just to see the excitement in people thinking of new ways and opportunities that we could have for our congregation moving forward.
I was in the call process and I had already completed reading the Farming Church book, and I went back and I started studying the book because there's 7 cultivation factors in there. And the Farming Church gives concrete examples of what you can do to change your church.
This provides an opportunity, or really the best term might be provides permission for the leadership to take some chances, to try some new things.
One part of Farming Church is the coaching that we receive, and that has been very helpful.
It keeps us on focus, but most importantly, it holds us accountable.
It's been very helpful to have access to technology in executing the Farming Church process with the congregations that we're working with.
Our coach for Farming Church is in the Nashville, Tennessee area. So when we use Zoom, which is a video conferencing program, my council members don't have to all try to be in the same place.
For our videos, we used a video hosting service where we could go post that video on our church website, and we could allow them to have the password to be able to go to that secure site and watch the video at any time.
One of the things that we were told in cultivating leadership was that as leaders, we need to be willing to be accountable. And if we show the congregation that we are willing to be held accountable and not deflect criticism, but hear it, that's helpful. It's about trust.
The coaching process really encourages, empowers, and helps the leadership of the congregation to discover and rediscover the things that they know need to be done in their particular situation.
It helps brings back to, where's God in all this? Not maybe the things we're wanting to do at this point, but what is God leading us to do?
Leadership for Faithful Innovations has been a partnership for the South Carolina Synod with Luther Seminary and a team of professors there. This process is a partnership of several synods to work with congregations on how to be innovative using spiritual practices, but also new technologies to help us be more effective in the ministries that God is calling us to.
We see across our Synod, across the ELCA and mainline denominations, a tremendous decline in worship attendance.
Our church is changing, our culture is changing, and we are learning very quickly that we can't be the same congregation that we were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and that there has to be this constant changing and growing, adjusting to the new culture, adjusting to our neighbors.
For me, it was a new lens in looking at the current ministries that we're a part of. And it also helps us to think more intentionally about listening to the Spirit of God.
My hopes for my congregation participating in this process is refreshing, Spirit-led mission and ministry in our congregation, but in the community and the neighborhood that we find ourselves in.
All of us are hungry to be doing good and faithful ministry in the congregations that we serve, but we're recognizing even more how important that is, that we be very good listeners to each other, but also very good listeners to what God is saying to us.
Next, the connection between God's abundance and our response of generosity can be seen in the following stories.
Stewardship for All Seasons was developed with the understanding that people in our congregations are excited to be generous as we put vision in front of them that they believe can help advance the kingdom of God. We inform them, motivate them, ask them, and thank them, but all towards a vision of how God will expand what the congregational ministry is about.
Stewardship for All Seasons is definitely about more than just talking about money. It's about planning for the future. It gives the congregation a focus on where to go in the coming year, which is helpful to the council, which is helpful to your committees, which is helpful to the people sitting in the pews so that they know, here's what we're doing.
If you don't communicate well, then people don't see the benefit of being a member of the church and wanting to participate.
We focus on these ministry initiatives, and the ministry initiatives are about how we can expand the work that God is doing in our midst. It's helped us to give the congregation concrete reasons to give more.
Stewardship needs to focus on issues that are important to the church and members, therefore increasing their generosity.
We're not just giving to make that next step up the giving ladder. It's definitely about giving the church a reason to give more.
The typical gift that we receive is one that goes in the offering plate on Sunday morning. But there are occasionally those gifts that do not fit that category.
When a pastor calls me in a panic, usually, that a large gift is coming in to their church, they're not sure what to do.
The second week that my wife and I were called to All Saints, we received the gift. We were happy to learn news that it was coming, but it also meant that we needed to do some work.
The first step in that process is for me to have a conversation with council, and then to work through a process with 2 task forces in the congregation to create 2 documents. The first document is a gift policy. Another document that I helped the congregations work on, that is another critical document, is an endowment bylaw. When we're done, they have a template that can go on to the congregation for transparency, and the congregation can have a voice in that process.
We received an incredibly significant gift, and enough so that we really had no idea what to do. 10 months after we started this process, kind of crafting a gift-giving policy and an endowment policy, we really had probably one of the most fun and exciting council meetings that I got to be a part of, where we decided where we're going to give this tithe to.
It's really important for congregations to not try to cookie cutter these documents. It's really important that they work through a process that's faithful to who they are.
Having a conversation with council where a member said, who's a little bit younger than me, and said, "Pastor, I've just realized that what we've done today will still be going on when your kids, or if his kids have kids, that will still be benefiting and contributing and helping out people in our community and around the world because of what we've done today."
Giving begets giving. And when congregations see other people leave legacy gifts, it sparks something in them that the church is an option.
This whole process has really shown me how this has really opened up the hearts of others in the congregation and outside the congregation as well.
Let me ask you in closing, how have these stories expanded your understanding of God's abundance that Jesus Christ still pours out upon us today? I want to thank you for your mission support to the South Carolina Synod, and how over the last 2 years we have seen an overall increase in our mission support together. How has this happened? It's happened by congregations like you, who pray about setting aside 10% of your regular giving of your members for our partnership together in the South Carolina Synod and the ELCA. Other congregations have found it helpful to take a step towards tithing by increasing their previous year giving to mission support by 10%. The most important thing to remember, it all comes from God. Thank you for the way you share God's gift of abundance with others.
Thank you so much for your commitment to this important mission that we share in the name of Jesus Christ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your love.
どうもありがとう。
どうもありがとうございます。
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, South Carolina Synod.
どうもありがとうございます。